Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Global. We'll get you the top stories from India and the region. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, and for news from rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague Benji Hire in Washington, D.C. Good to have you with us, Benji.
Yes, 10 a.m. here in Washington, 3 in the afternoon across Central Europe. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, Joe Biden is fighting for his political life. We'll have the latest ahead of a major interview tonight, plus global reaction to Labour's election in the UK. But first, back to you for the headlines.
Keir Starmer's first address at 10 Downing Street as UK's new Prime Minister pledges action, not words, to fix Britain.
Brick by brick, we will rebuild the infrastructure of opportunity. The world-class schools and colleges, the affordable homes that I know are the ingredients of hope for working people.
Struggling Joe Biden uses 4th of July celebrations to hit back at doubters to face big test with ABC interview on Friday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin. First trip to Russia since the start of the Ukraine conflict. Prime Minister to also visit Austria. Newly elected UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer made his first speech as leader outside Downing Street on Friday after his Labour Party won a national election with a huge majority. Greeted at 10 Downing Street by a large crowd of cheering aides and supporters after formally accepting the King's invitation to become Prime Minister, Starmer's first address made the case for a moderate politics to repair voters' broken trust. He added that Britain must rediscover its identity, however, warned that Britain's improvements would take time.
Brick by brick, we will rebuild the infrastructure of opportunity. The world-class schools and colleges, the affordable homes that I know are the ingredients of hope for working people. The security that working-class families like mine can build their lives around. Because if I asked you now whether you believe that Britain will be better for your children, I know too many of you would say no. And so my government will fight every day until you believe again. From now on, you have a government unburdened by doctrine, guided only by the determination to serve your interest, to defy, quietly, those who have written our country off.
Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak took responsibility for the Conservatives' rout in the polls as he resigned as UK Prime Minister. Accompanied by his wife, Akshata Murthy, Sunak submitted his resignation to King Charles. He also said that he will be stepping down as the leader of the Conservative Party.
To the country, I would like to say first and foremost, I am sorry. I have given this job my all, but you have sent a clear signal that the government of the United Kingdom must change, and yours is the only judgment that matters. I have heard your anger, your disappointment, and I take responsibility for this loss.
For the latest from the UK, DD India correspondent Ollie Barrett is joining us live from London. Ollie, Prime Minister Starmer's first address from 10 Downing Street seems managing the economy and cost of living crisis at home appears number one priority.
I think that's right, Shubhendu, and what Keir Starmer was trying to do in that speech was set out grounds for hope and optimism for what he believes the Labour government he now leads can achieve, but also setting some expectation management, some realism about the scale of the challenges that his government faces. He did talk a lot about the economy and difficulties for families up and down Britain, and he will know that those are the things that if he addresses over the course of this Parliament will potentially chime with voters. He will also know that if he can't address some of the challenges that voters feel in those areas, that will be something potentially he will be punished for at the ballot box next time around. So opportunities for Keir Starmer and Labour there, but also huge challenges as well. These are things that won't be easy for the government to grapple with, even though it does have a large majority here at the House of Commons.
Right. Ollie, also give us some insight into what happens now in terms of the government formation. What are you learning also about possible portfolio distribution?
Well, it looks like that portfolio distribution is underway. We've had senior figures from what was the shadow cabinet turning up at number 10 Downing Street, and we expect that they're doing so to be given jobs. So among those who've been first through the door at number 10, Rachel Reeves, who has been Shadow Chancellor up to now. Every expectation is that she will become the Chancellor of the Exchequer, the Finance Minister for the UK. Angela Rayner has been in Downing Street. She was the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party. Expectation is she continues in that role. Interesting to see whether she is formalised in the Deputy Prime Minister role, whether any other duties are added to her portfolio. To David Lammy has been to Downing Street. Speculation about whether the shadow Foreign Secretary, which is the role he's been occupying up to now, whether or not he would be put into the Foreign Secretary role when in government. Some speculation that perhaps because of previous comments he's made about Donald Trump, for example, the potential next US President and current former US President, might mean that Keir Starmer was considering someone else for that role. But those are some of the senior appointments that Keir Starmer appears to be making first, and then there will be a day or so when the other positions in the cabinet and some junior ministerial roles are settled as well. And then I think we expect that we will probably see the cabinet meeting for the first time on Saturday.
Ollie, thank you for those updates. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has congratulated Keir Starmer on the victory in the UK polls. In a tweet, Prime Minister says, and I quote, "Heartiest congratulations and best wishes to Keir Starmer on the remarkable victory in the UK general elections. I look forward to a positive and constructive collaboration to further strengthen India-UK comprehensive strategic partnership in all areas, fostering mutual growth and prosperity." And Prime Minister Modi also expressed gratitude towards Rishi Sunak for working towards deepening India-UK ties. In a message, he says, "Thank you, Rishi Sunak, for your admirable leadership of the UK and your active contribution to deepen ties between India and the UK during your term in office. Best wishes to you and your family for the future." Labour Party under Keir Starmer has adopted a more pro-India stance compared to party's previous leadership under Jeremy Corbyn. Let's take a look at how. In its polls manifesto, Labour said that it will seek a new strategic partnership with India, including free trade agreement. It also sought deepening bilateral cooperation in areas like security, education, technology and climate change. At the India Global Forum last year, Starmer had said that a Labour government will seek with India a relationship based on shared values of democracy and aspiration. The new leadership of the UK is being welcomed by allies in the West as well. Benji Hire is in Washington, D.C., gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Benji, for now, congratulatory messages are coming in for Prime Minister Starmer.
Yes, that's right. We await a formal statement from President Joe Biden, but already NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg says he's looking forward to welcoming Sir Keir Starmer and also meeting him at the NATO summit being held here in Washington next week.
On the UK elections, I will congratulate Keir Starmer on his election victory. I look forward to welcoming him and to meet him at the NATO summit in Washington next week.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has also congratulated Mr. Starmer. He says there are lots of things to work on ahead and build on a more progressive, fair future for people on both sides of the Atlantic. Well, on this side of the Atlantic, a political crisis as President Joe Biden tries to shake off his debate performance last week, which led to calls for him to stand down from the race for the White House. Tonight, he'll feature in an interview with ABC News, one of the major networks here, and viewers will be watching closely for whether he slips up. But even in the face of this enormous pressure, Mr. Biden insists he's not going anywhere and that his health is not wavering. For more on this, we're joined by DD India correspondent Caroline Malone, live from Washington. Caroline, many eyes will be on this interview happening later today. What are we expecting to hear? What does Joe Biden need to do in that interview performance to allay some of the fears that he's not up for the job?
Well, Biden really needs to push forward and show that he is strong, agile, mentally capable enough of being the president again. And we can expect to hear some of the same messaging that we've heard already from Biden this week in his kind of recovery week after the debate. He spoke to members of the military at the White House on July 4 on Thursday and said that he is not going anywhere. So that's been his clear messaging so far. He is staying put. He is in position. And he is still, he believes, the best person to beat Donald Trump, the likely candidate for the Republican Party. He said much the same thing to governors who he spoke to on the phone on Wednesday. Those included some of the people who might even be considered replacements for him. But they came out and said afterwards that they do support Biden in going forward to be the candidate for the Democratic Party, to be the candidate that could potentially beat Trump. Having said all that, the polls are not favourable for Biden. They weren't great even before the debate that didn't, come across in the best light for him. He's trailing behind Trump nationally by a few points. In swing states, Trump appears to be ahead in most of them, if not all of them. And the most recent polls from this week show that most people, something like 70 to 80% of people, depending on which poll you look at, think he's too old to be president again. And all of this is happening after this disastrous debate. So in this interview, he's really got to prove himself as being capable and agile enough to move forward. But a lot of the, damage has really already been done by the debate last week.
Caroline Malone, thank you. Indeed, a crucial few days ahead for the US president. Meanwhile, in France, the far-right National Rally Party is set to fall short of an absolute majority in parliamentary elections. The most recent polls see them win between 205 and 230 seats in Sunday's votes. That is ahead of the left-wing New Popular Front in the range of 145 to 175. President Emmanuel Macron's centrist bloc trailing behind with 130 to 162 seats projected. More than 210 candidates stood down earlier this week in a bid to try to avoid splitting the vote against the far right. That's a move that means that Marine Le Pen's National Front may not be able to win that majority of seats. Undeterred by the polls, National Rally President Jordan Bardella presented himself as the only one capable of getting France out of its blocked situation.
We cannot waste 3 more years when the world is moving forward, when Europe is moving forward, faced with the France economic security and identity currently deadline, including its voice on the international scene. I tell the French, I'm the only one who can obtain an absolute majority. Allow me to move the country forward around 2 ideas, the restoration of authority and the revival of our economic system.
The man who was at risk of being unseated, French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal, insists the failure of the presidential camp to stem the rise of the far right, which is not something which he says is limited to France.
This risk of a majority dominated by the France on board fell in the first round. Now, the risk is that of a majority dominated by the National Rally, by the far right. I think that is deadly and would be terrible for the country. I really say it with depth.
More on elections globally, and Iranians voted on Friday for a runoff in the presidential election. Candidates Saeed Jalili and Masoud Pezeshkian, surrounded by supporters, cast their votes in the capital, Tehran. That runoff follows a June 28th ballot with historically low turnout, over 60% of Iranian voters abstaining from the snap election, which was needed to find a successor to Ebrahim Raisi following his death in a helicopter crash. Polling will conclude in the coming minutes. Preliminary election results are expected to be released by Saturday. Well, just 2 days after urging a ceasefire in Ukraine during his visit to Kyiv, Ukrainian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is now in Moscow, where he's meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin. At that meeting, Mr. Putin said he was ready to discuss nuances of peace proposals to end the conflict in Ukraine. He also expressed readiness to hear from the Hungarian leader and his position on the war to get a sense of the views of European partners.
I hope we have an opportunity to exchange our concerns on building of bilateral relations in this uneasy situation. We have arrived here to discuss all the nuances of the situation on Kyiv-Ukrainian axis.
From one war to another, efforts to secure a ceasefire and a hostage release in Gaza are now gathering momentum again. That's after Hamas made a revised proposal to a deal. Israel will be sending a high-level delegation to resume stalled negotiations. The White House on Thursday welcomed this decision, but some far-right partners in Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's governing coalition have indicated they may quit the government if the conflict ends before Hamas is destroyed. Hurricane Beryl, now a Category 2 storm, has made landfall on Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. The storm, which devastated many islands in the Caribbean, is expected to bring with it a dangerous surge and potentially damaging waves. It's packing winds of up to 110 miles an hour. Now, weather officials have issued a red alert. The hurricane ripped through Jamaica and the West Indies earlier this week, leaving 11 people dead. In Mexico, a hurricane warning has been issued for the coast from Puerto Costa Maya to Cancun. That's it from me here in Washington. Back to you in the studio.
Benji Haya, thank you. And still to come on DD India Global. India's President Draupadi Murmu presents Gallantry Awards. And Nevada's Sphere celebrates its first anniversary.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Global. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's upcoming visit to Moscow and Vienna will be first set of bilateral visits in the third term of his government. An official announcement was made today. We get you the details in this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a two-nation tour from 8th July to 10th of July. He will be on an official visit to Russia on the invitation of Russian President Vladimir Putin on the 8th of July. Both the leaders will engage in bilateral talks and discuss a range of issues from defense, culture, regional and global developments. India and Russia share a cordial bilateral relation. The growing investment ties between both the countries stands testimony to the long-standing friendship of India and Russia.
India-Russia bilateral trade has seen a sharp increase in 2023-24. It has since touched close to $65 billion, primarily due to strong energy cooperation between India and Russia. With Indian exports of $4 billion and Indian imports being close to 60 billion, trade remains imbalanced, which is a matter of priority in our discussions with the Russian side.
The Prime Minister of India will start his second leg of the tour to Vienna, the capital of Austria, on 9th of July. This is the first Prime Minister level visit to Austria from India after a long gap of 40 years. India and Austria will be engaging in multiple bilateral and delegation level talks during the visit. The focus areas during the visit to Vienna are likely to be business, innovation and technology.
This will be Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi's first visit to Austria. The last Prime Ministerial visit, I must mention, from India to Austria took place more than 40 years ago. In terms of programming elements, the Prime Minister, besides the ceremonial welcome being accorded to him, would also call on the President of Austria and hold restricted delegation level talks, as also a high-level business engagement in Austria.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the two nations is going to strengthen ties between India and Russia, and the first Prime Minister level visit to Austria will further enhance the bilateral ties between India and Austria. With Dibendu Mondal, Tanvi Taneja for DD India.
India's President Draupadi Murmu presented gallantry awards at the Defence Investiture Ceremony 2024 Phase 1. The ceremony was held at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi on Friday. Vice President of India Jagdeep Dhankar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Union Defence Minister Rajnath Singh were among other dignitaries present on the occasion. Nevada's Sphere celebrated its first anniversary coinciding with the Independence Day celebrations, displaying some amazing visuals on the Exosphere, the world's largest LED screen. The show also featured more than 500 drones displaying various designs. The special design and display visuals amazed the viewers as they enjoyed the double celebrations. What a stunning piece of tech. But that's all in this edition of DD India Global. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And those on the go, you can also get all the latest news and developments from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan this QR code on your screens to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Global. Namaskar.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Swagatam to Andhra Pradesh, the coastal jewel of India, a state steeped in history. From the Gandi Kota Fort to the majestic Gondapalli Fort, a region known as the Rice Bowl of India, a holy land with rivers Krishna and Godavari flowing through it. Every part of this land tells a story of culture and devotion, and of a modern, developed, vibrant India. The graceful Kuchipudi and exuberant Thimsa showcase the artistic brilliance of this land. The Ikkat and Kalamkari speak of the talent of artisans and their skilled hands. A cultural concoction that unites people in the spirit of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam.
A confluence of spirituality, knowledge and culture. The progenitor of democracy, Bihar holds a special place in India's history. Treasure the journey of enlightenment. Travel the holy circuit trails of multiple faiths. Experience the legacy of ancient India. And an educational lineage that produced some of the greatest luminaries of the time. Discover a multitude of art and craft forms. Savor the true flavors of the land and enjoy the sights and sounds of iconic festivals. Delve deeper into the natural beauty of this land, enriched by the sacred river Ganga. Today, Bihar's infrastructure is at the heart of its transformation. Poised to take a big leap with initiatives in agriculture, education, tourism, and information technology. An ode to a remarkable history. Bihar truly offers a glimpse into a captivating past and vibrant present. Welcome to Bihar.
Our forests really do support our existence in crucial ways. Let's find some inspiration on what we can do for them.
We started creating a fire line to save the trees. To fight fires nowadays, we use advanced technologies like early warning systems. The Forest Survey of India's Fire Alert website.
Mining is happening to such a big extent that hill after hill is being razed to the ground.
We're going to plant only local species. We got an expert on hand. We reached out to experts who knew about what it means to take on.
So if we look at the way the indigenous communities have managed the food system, you will see a component of diversity.
NESPAS now supports more than 130 villages in northeastern India.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.